When performing a normal crunch from the ground, you're going from a flat spine position to a flexed spine position. And when you do an extended crunch, all you're doing is going from a slightly extended spine position, and so it just slightly changes the range of motion. I personally prefer this version than a normal crunch, however it is more difficult. So if you aren't able to do this yet, it's best to progress with a normal crunch first until you are able to perform this version of the movement. So you want to find any kind of raised object, whether you use an ab mat, whether you use a little sponge like this. Something like a foam roller is typically too much for most people. However, you can get foam rollers that are effectively cut in half that can be a nice way of doing this exercise as well. But basically, you want something that makes your lower back go into a more neutral spine position. So you have a natural arch in your lower back here, and that is where you're trying to start the movement. The legs being straight out here is mainly from a counterbalance perspective. If you bring the feet up, what can happen is as you try and crunch yourself up, the pivot point makes you tip backwards. So the balance makes you end up lifting your feet off the ground rather than lifting your upper body off the ground. And then, much like the crunch, we're trying to think about pulling the lowest rib towards the highest point of the hip, and that's it. And when you get to a flat stomach position or a slightly flexed spine position, that is when you stop the movement. We don't take this to the point where you perform a full sit-up. We're trying to go from an extended / neutral position to a flat spine position. You can, of course, perform a full range of motion if you want. However, typically people are doing this exercise because a normal crunch is a little bit too easy. They've started doing things like weighted crunches, and so this exercise is used in conjunction with those things to challenge the extended range of motion from the core musculature, so we don't need to worry about going any further up than a flat spine position or a fractionally rounded lower back position. I have my hands up here just to get out of the way of the camera so that you can see what's happening, but it can be easier if you have your hands down by your side, and if you were to put your hands up above your head, that would make the movement obviously a little bit more difficult.